My Chemical Romance, the face of emo music, has an Iceberg chart. I found this on Reddit by the guy with the most Reddit-sounding name. If you don't know what an iceberg chart is, everything on the top, everyone knows. Everything on the bottom, some people know. Starting in the clouds. Album stories. All the main albums of My Chemical Romance have a story to them. Their debut album, I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, is about two demolition enthusiasts doing crime together. Their second album, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge, follows the story of the first album. One of the lovers ends up in purgatory and makes a deal with the devil to give them 1,000 souls so they can see their love again. Welcome to the Black Parade is the most obvious, being a straight-up rock opera, following a patient with cancer as he slowly remembers his life, comes to terms that he's not the greatest person, and slowly dies. Endangered Days follows the Fabulous Killjoys, a post-apocalyptic band, which leads right into the next entry, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, which is a tie-in comic to Danger Days. It has really good art, and it is written by Gerard Way, the founder and lead singer of MCR. I would probably have that be a separate entry. Gerard Way writes comics. He has written for the big three comic book creators in the US. With Dark Horse, he created the Umbrella Academy and written for the Netflix adaptation. For DC, he wrote for Doom Patrol. And for Marvel, he created Penny Parker. She most notably appeared in Spider-Verse. Her big deal is she's one of many alternate universe counterparts of Spider-Man who pilots a Spider-Man mecha, Evangelion style, with the soul of her father in it. Life on the Murder Scene. This is a live album with some original songs never before seen or heard. Conventional Weapons. Conventional Weapons is a compilation of different singles released as one album, which is the last MCR album before they broke up in 2013. Black Parade B-Side. There is a B-Side featuring 5 songs. MCRX, Living with Ghost. For the 10th anniversary of the Black Parade, they re-released the album under this title, which featured some never-before-heard songs. Second Layer, On the Tip. The Black Parade characters. Again, referring to the Black Parade having a story, they have characters. Solo projects. Much like other bands, most of the members made their own solo albums. Well, everyone except Mikey Way did. Mad Gear and Missile Kid. This is MCR's only EP, Yo Gabba Gabba. Out of all things, My Chemical Romance cameoed in Yo Gabba Gabba. For the Nick Jr. Show's Christmas special, they sung Every Snowflake is Different, Just Like You. And because it was made in 2011, conservatives weren't offended about people being compared to snowflakes. It's actually a really good song, and really sounds like their later song Scarecrow. 9/11. Gerard Way was in New York during the September 11 attacks. It moved him much like most Americans. He went home and wrote Skylines and Turnsites, started calling everyone he knew, and eventually he formed My Chemical Romance as a way to give back to the world. Violence against emos in Mexico. An often neglected part of emo and other gothic subcultures is the immense amount of discrimination and abuse they face. This entry specifically talks about in Tijuana, Mexico, how a bunch of emos were physically and mentally abused by anti-emo groups. MCR has openly spoke out against these people, but it also should be noted that emos have faced even worse discrimination across the world, such as in Iraq. Don't treat people this poorly. The song's about sucking dick for cocaine. Gerard Way literally said this before performing live, "Honey, this mirror isn't big enough for the two of us." Colleen Atwood designed the Black Parade costumes. She did indeed design the famous parade outfits for the band. Colleen Atwood is also Tim Burton's main costume designer. Inhaler signing. Mikey Way used an inhaler in the I'm Not Okay music video. Because of this, fans make him sign their inhalers. Mikey Way is not asthmatic, it was just a prop. Watchmen influence. Gerard Way's favorite comic book is Watchmen. It inspired the Umbrella Academy, and MCR did a cover of Bob Dylan's Desolation Row for the Zack Snyder Watchmen film. Matt Pellicier was the first member. I probably pronounced that wrong, but Matt was the first person Gerard Way called to form My Chemical Romance. He was quickly kicked out of the band because apparently he set Gerard Way's grandmother's van on fire. Famous last word injuries. During the filming of the Famous Last Word music video, basically every member of My Chemical Romance got some sort of injury. From sprains, broken backs, and Bob Breyer gaining third-degree burns and gangrene. Next level. Drowning Lesson Curse. The song Drowning Lessons has been removed from their live performances because every time they do perform it live, they have technical issues. 9-Volt Heart. This is a lost My Chemical Romance song. Probably the most famous and well-known lost song. It was originally supposed to be part of the Bullets album, but it was poorly received at their first concert, so it was scrapped and never recorded. Desolation Row is canon to the Watchmen film. I guess. I don't know why there's an entry on the list. There was nothing in the music video like saying it can't be canon other than the fact that My Chemical Romance, none of the members will have been old enough when the film actually takes place in the early 80s. So I guess that adds to the alternate history narrative of Watchmen. Paper Kingdom. This was meant to be their 5th album about a support group of parents who lost their kids. It was described to be one of the darkest things that My Chemical Romance ever written. But Gerard Way didn't like how it was turning out, so scrapped the album. But the song Fake Your Death on the Greatest Hit album was originally meant for Paper Kingdom. Honey, This Mirror Isn't Big Enough music video. No, it's not about sucking dick for cocaine, but it is about a reenactment of the Japanese horror movie Audition. From 1999, it's about a man trying to audition the perfect wife, but then the perfect wife turns out to not be so. The Black Parade was written in a haunted mansion, specifically the Paramore Mansion in LA. It made them really scared. Daily Mail protest. This refers to the fact that the Daily Mail called MCR a self-harm cult, and basically everyone who wasn't a boomer protested it. Mama features the band's mothers. Yes. Track 4 of XO. Frankie Arrow spin-off band Leathermouth had an album called XO, which 4th track had a very, very naughty thing in it. So naughty, in fact, the US Secret Services came to Frank's house, telling him they can never sing that song again, or even distribute the album again, or even make a new album. Because the freedom of speech only applies to some people in the US. Next layer. MCR is partially responsible for Twilight. Kind of. Because Stephanie Myers, who wrote Twilight, was inspired to write it because of My Chemical Romance. She even wanted Gerard Way to play Edward in the film, and for MCR to write a new song. They both declined. So this entry should be titled instead MCR is responsible for Twilight, and they should add another entry that MCR is partially responsible for 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey, a terrible book and movie series about confusing abuse for BDSM by someone who has never had BDSM sex, which became popular because of middle-class moms who've never heard about BDSM before learning of it through this book. It's relevant because 50 Shades of Grey began life as Twilight fanfiction, titled Master of the Universe, and E.L. James' pen name was Snow Queen's Ice Dragon. I'm not making this up. There's gonna be someone watching this like, oh, you're full of crap. Looks it up. Oh yeah, it is real. And no one believed me. Story of my life. Bob Breyer controversy. Despite saving dogs and having great bangs that I'm jealous of, Bob Breyer is kind of a weirdo. Hannah Montana versus My Chemical Romance. This is referring to in 2006, My Chemical Romance was beaten out at number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 by Hannah Montana. The Breakfast Monkey. The Breakfast Monkey is about this monkey getting up into shenanigans, which is Gerard Way's little cartoon that he wanted to promote to Cartoon Network. It is notable because that's the reason why he was in New York during September 11th. Freddy vs. Jason. Freddy vs. Jason is a movie where Freddy Krueger fights Jason Voorhees. It's relevant because My Chemical Romance was supposed to perform the song Sister to Sleep for the soundtrack. It was never studio recorded, but there are live performances that have been recorded. and it was not in the final film because it took too long. The Chemical Brothers. I've never heard them referred to as, but this is referring to the fact that Gerard Way and Mikey Way are indeed actually brothers. They share the same parents. Gerard is the lead singer and Mikey is the bass player. A more surprising family connection is the fact that they are second cousins to Joe Rogan. Conservative podcast weirdo Joe Rogan is second cousins to Gerard and Mikey Way because of their shared relative Josie. To Mikey and Gerard, Josie is their aunt, and to Joe Rogan, she's his grandmother, making them second cousins. Gerard confirmed this in 2015 on his Reddit, and Joe Rogan confirmed this slightly later to Kevin Smith on his podcast. They do know they're related, but Gerard and Mikey have never met Joe Rogan, and I highly doubt Joe Rogan would like MCR. And I know from personal experience, just because you're related to someone doesn't mean you act like that person. But it is really weird these very different people are related. Kind of like if you found out that The Amazing Atheist is nephews to Pope Francis. The next layer is hilarious because it's only one thing, the pancake report. Gerard Way did a pancake report for this Pancake Mountain thing, which is this public access thing, with Gerard Way reporting about and making bad jokes about pancakes. And at the bottom of the iceberg, Woody Woodpecker, Cameo, and Dead. The guitar riff for Dead kinda sounds like Woody Woodpecker's laugh. I would add probably one more thing. The Aquabats Super Show! The Aquabats are a very silly superhero band that had a show on the Hub and later Discovery Kids. It is one of the cheesiest, silliest things I've ever seen in my entire life. It is relevant because there was an episode with Gerard and Mikey in it. And that was the My Chemical Romance Iceberg. What'd you think? Did you learn anything? Did you know these facts already? Did you enjoy this video? You want to see more icebergs on my channel? Let me know in the comments below.